It's funny, like moving out of the office home, like has really magnified the scope, I think, of how important our work is in the community.
Everyone at Nine is working towards the same goal, even though we're all doing very different work.
We've been really shifting from longer storytelling to more information and encouragement.
We want to make sure our community understands that we're using our resources, which are really their resources, to their best and highest use.
During the coronavirus pandemic, the Nine Network really stepped up. They also were really instrumental in reaching out to get some of the best and brightest teachers throughout the region.
I'm not sitting at home thinking, what can I do to help? Like, I have something to do. At Nine, me and a group of 3 other women have been working together with teachers to get them on air for students. There's a lot of students who have access to the internet, and there's a lot of students who have tablets, but there's a lot who don't. And this really helps kids who their means of information is the antenna on their TV.
And it is incredible how many kids are really watching. And I think it just shows like how much kids miss that interaction with teachers and they miss school. So the fact that Nine was able to come up with this idea and give them a very small piece of normal during this time is kind of amazing.
When I watched my first lesson on teaching in room 9, I was like, this is it. This is what we are missing. There are no like frills and bells, and yet the teaching is so good that the lessons, it reminds me of just the essence of what good teaching is.
The death of George Floyd has really hit our household incredibly hard. And talking with my dad, I'm really struggling. Right now, he's telling me that he's the scary black guy that everybody fears. But yet, I know my dad to be the loving, supporting dad that any other dad is out there. And it just breaks my heart to know that my dad's not looked at the same as everybody else. I truly believe that Nine Network can help with the current situation because we give a voice to those who don't have a voice. We can bring civil discourse to a topic that is hard to discuss and actually have someone walk away and say, okay, I may not agree with you, but I have at least learned something and I do understand.
The Nine Network's content helps us to understand ourselves better, to understand our neighbors better, our whole region and our world better, and we can go out and do better because of the Nine Network.
People look to us as trust and stability, and we need to continue to be that rock and that trust and stable place for the stuff they need.
It's just so rewarding and so wonderful to see everybody come together in a diverse atmosphere for our common cause.
We are working really hard so that we can bring that really important information. This is exactly what we're here for.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, everybody. We're so happy to be with you tonight. Listen, you are in for such a treat. We have some really, really fun things to share with you tonight. And I think from the video you just saw, you can see what a special place Nine is. Hi there, I'm Amy Shaw. I'm the president and CEO of the Nine Network. And I hope you enjoyed seeing a bit more about what's been happening at Nine in these past few months. We were just talking with the panelists for tonight, and we've all been just living in very interesting times. The team at Nine, just like everybody else, is finding our way in these uncommon times. And virtual events like this have been a hit. You can continue to attend them. It's, by this point in the summer, we would have probably had about 35 events at the Nine Network. So we've been doing it via Zoom instead. And so it's been great to be with you. You know, Nine's going to celebrate our 66th anniversary on September 20th, and we're really honored that you've placed your trust in us all these years, and we work very hard to keep that trust every day. Our founding education mission has never been more important, and we're really proud to offer smart entertainment and trusted news and information and education. We've directed our resources in these last couple of months to bring you voices from our neighbors, virtual screenings, local and national programs that bring context and depth to the issues of the day, and of course, on-air classrooms for our youngest learners. Starting on April 27th, we started teaching in room 9. That's been our education service, and that's how we went on the air in the first place. in 1954 by teaching on TV. And so now, nearly 66 years later, we're doing the same thing because the need is there. Since the end of April, we've produced and broadcast more than 300 new episodes, lessons with local teachers to bring kids the education and the trusted resources that they need most. It's a service for our entire community, but especially those kids without reliable internet or digital devices. And that's really in the St. Louis area, about 1 in 3 kids. We're going to keep broadcasting Teaching in Room 9 through the end of 2020, now that we're entering a new school year, and with kids, again, doing virtual school and parents trying to find those trusted resources. 9 is more important than ever. So please tell your friends and family. You can go to 9net.org and you'll find those resources right on our front page. Know that the work is only possible because of the support we receive from, as you say, viewers like you. It's community members like you. If you're able to support it, please go to 9net.org/support. We're really proud to bring you a local food series, a new local food series, Food is Love, which I think the title is so apt for the times that we're living. Premiered on 9 PBS on July 13th. We helped bring that show to our air with the great chef Lasse Sorenson. I think it's about a love letter to the St. Louis community. It's about opening your heart to food and new ideas and new cultures. And it is also a love letter to St. Louis's food scene, which is very much struggling right now amid the pandemic. And so whatever you can do to support our local restaurants, please do that. So go visit every single restaurant you see on Food is Love. New episodes are going to start on September 21st with a visit to Egg Restaurant in Benton Park. That one's fantastic. And September 28th with the Black-owned restaurant Gulf Shores in Creve Coeur. If you haven't already joined, please join the Chew in the Lou Facebook group. And I want to give you a little bit of behind the scenes. I go way back with Chef Lasse Sorenson. I helped produce and I hosted his first food show, which was called Chefs of the River Region on another public television station, probably 20 some odd years ago. It was in the early 2000s, late 1999. So he has been such a great friend, and we're so happy to have him on 9 PBS and for him to be with you. Now, speaking of Chew in the Lou, you all know the people I'm going to introduce in just a second. Joe Prosperi, his day job is our Director of Digital Strategy at the 9 Network. But his passion really is food, and he started the Chew in the Lou Facebook group, and now that's evolved into Chew in the Lou live events. And with his compatriot, Lydia Gwynne, I turn it over to you, Joe Prosperi.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So this is the point where I had hoped to have a video clip of Amy Shaw in Chefs of the Riverland from 20 years ago, but we were unable to find that clip to show at this point. But we are still really excited to have everybody here tonight for our second Chew in the Lou Live, here with Chef Lasse Sorenson and Qui Tran. I'm going to introduce now real quick Lydia Gwynne, who many of you guys will know as one of our most active and prolific members of the Chew in the Lou community. Say hi, Lydia.
Hello, everyone. The Chew crew, as I believe we've coined the term. I'm so excited to be back again, and definitely with 2 amazing local chefs and people passionate about the Chew crew, as I believe we've coined the term. I'm so excited to be back again. Hold on. Sorry, technical difficulties. All right. Well, let's get ready to kick this off. I know that there have already been thousands of comments about Lasse. So Lasse, hello and welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
It looks like you're joining us from a very safe place, from the wine cellar, I believe, in your restaurant, right?
Yeah, my restaurant is open, and you know, it's hard to find a place where they're not going to disturb me. So I put myself in the wine cellar and lock the door.
Fantastic. I think that's the best place to hide.
Yeah, not a bad spot.
Yeah, and we're also joined with Qui Tran. You know him so much with his incredible St. Louis scene with Miley, as well as Noodle House. Hi, Qui, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, fantastic. Well, I think we just kind of want to dive right in. And Lasse, I'm going to kick it off with you because We've heard so
Actually,
many.
hey, Lydia, we're going to jump to the egg clip first.
Oh, you're right. Oh, sorry. Jump to that.
So,
That's better than
Lasse, we're going to jump in. Lasse is going to give us a quick preview of an upcoming episode of Food is Love. Obviously, you guys have seen 3 episodes of Food is Love so far. You saw Balkan Treat Box a couple of weeks ago. You saw Gorilla Street Food, and you saw Kimchi Guys. So we got a couple of new episodes coming up, like Amy mentioned, in September. But the next one on the agenda, episode 4, is Egg in Benton Park. So Lasse, give us a quick preview here of what we're going to see in this clip.
Well, so we are evolving. The show is evolving a little bit because sometimes we get off subject and we focus on things. So this particular episode, we're really focusing on egg, and you'll see in the next this clip for 10 minutes, we're adding some fun little things about egg in there too, and of course. I love Faisal. He's such a great guy, and he's a wealth of information. I've yet to meet anybody who knows more about St. Louis history than he does, and he has a great accent. So I think it's a really, really good episode that's coming up. As humans, there are things we experience no matter what part of the world we live in. You can think of them as universal truths. Stuff like happiness, pain, laughter, love, loss, and eggs. That's right, eggs. In just about every place in the world you can find eggs, and nearly every culture you talk to would recognize them. But even despite a global presence, the answer to the age-old question of the chicken or the egg still managed to cause debate. But as for the question which comes first, the Tunisian or the egg, well, anyone in Benton Park who eats breakfast can tell you the answer to that. This is Faisal, a Tunisian transplant to St. Louis, amateur historian.
Tunisia, it's like thousands of years old, so it has many influences.
And purveyor of the Benton Park breakfast spot, Egg Restaurant. Since 2013, he has taken the concept of the egg breakfast and fused it with different culture influences of his Tunisian homeland. We can all agree that eggs are universally familiar, unless you're talking about the eggs here. As a chef, I need to stay curious in order to evolve. For me, that means looking beyond a great meal to learn more about who made it and what inspires them to cook. Every great city has great food. I'm going on a journey around the world right here in St. Louis to find good food and experience other cultures. I'm on a quest to find passionate chefs who cooks from the heart. Because food is love.
It's gonna be delicious.
Food is love. Love your food. Mid-spring, life is moving along at its usual pace in the big city. Up early, I find myself elbow deep in harissa learning the lines in the kitchen of Egg Restaurant. Faisal, one of the owners at Egg, is getting me familiar with the menu before our planned return trip 1 week later to film this very episode. Then it happened. In response to the pandemic, the world seemingly came to a halt. We were naive in the beginning, thinking in a few weeks we would be back on schedule, but it got worse. The city of St. Louis, like the rest of the world, were in some form of quarantine. Cases began to rise as the medical community struggled to keep up. Restaurants and businesses had to learn to operate under very limiting restrictions or completely shut down in some cases. Many will never reopen. There are others still who, against the odds, are making it work. It's been well over 3 months, but I'm coming to have breakfast with Faisal to get his thoughts on the current state of things. So business-wise, how are you doing now with all these restrictions, COVID restrictions?
Not good. Every customer costs you more now.
Take safety precautions, but come out and support the restaurants. It's tough.
I'm super grateful for our platform of friends and customers. They kept patronizing with us. They become the core of this business for me, you know, because no matter what, there's always support. They always, and with that particular support, for me, it'll keep me going, you know.
I see that in my restaurants. People come in and they're spending money that they normally wouldn't.
Yes.
They're tipping servers
Yes.
twice as much as normal.
Yes.
I mean, because they know we're in trouble.
The revenue and the money and all and the expense and all that, we will rebuild, you know, like even now we cannot catch up, but we can rebuild in the future. The greatest city of St. Louis, we overcome many obstacles and many disasters, you know, like we are one of the greatest city in the nation from the 18th centuries all the way to the 19th centuries. This is it. This is the core and the hub of everything's happening around us. 1804, Louisiana Purchase, which is that opened up the door wide for like a gateway to the west to become gateway to the west. Like St. Louis becomes the spotlight. In the Mississippi River, we have like a mile of steamboats, sometimes third way into the river, sometimes like 1 mile, 2 miles on the banks of the river. The Great Fire in St. Louis, 1849, caused by steamboat. And they try to push the boat away from the city so the river would take it. A windy day, so the boat came back and would like engulf other 25 steamer boats, and it becomes the Great Fire. But you know, guess what? We rebuilt. We built the city, and we kept living.
Pandemic aside, keeping an egg-themed menu running, or from running maybe, requires its own measures. And if you didn't catch it, that was a yoke.
One of the biggest challenges is how to grab the eggs without bursting inside the water.
Yeah, that's the biggest struggle at egg restaurant is the eggs.
Keep the eggs.
When it comes to building an order of pork belly Benedict, Faisal has reached level 10 mastery of his craft.
Voila.
It looks delicious.
Enjoy.
You have to taste it to understand. So, do you have a favorite dish?
Everything is my favorite dish because every dish it has a different character and different taste, different way to prepare it. Even though it looks simple to put it together, but it's very complex to reach this stage.
See, this is kudos to you. This egg is perfect.
Yes.
See how that is right here?
Yes.
Wow.
Nice.
That is perfect right there.
Or like this too, huh? You know?
Oh, look at that. So how do you come up with the name egg?
So egg, Lasse, he come out with the name. Lasse, my partner.
Okay.
What I like about egg, which is I will not change the restaurant name from egg. It'll give you the chance to explore through multiple dishes by just incorporate eggs.
I mean, it has so many uses.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like we survive. The protein
and it's in everything.
Oh, it's like a protein, source of protein. It's like the most, even like people, they don't eat meat, but they still eat eggs. Shakshuka now, you can find it from Barcelona all the way to Tel Aviv.
It is delicious.
Enjoy. Like at egg, we have the opportunity to bring different civilizations together in one plate.
Yeah.
Like actually you can bring different ethnic backgrounds and put it in one plate.
Well, that's what makes the cuisine so interesting.
Yes. The barbacoa or the carnitas or the merguez. We have a fantastic French toast with a twist, European, African twist to it. Yeah, this is a barbacoa. It's one of my favorites. Actually, we serve this in a sandwich too down in Midtown. We have a very popular sandwich, barbacoa sandwich. It's amazing. The Spanish occupied, especially northwest of Africa, especially Tunisia, for 47 years. The only good thing they brought with them is the peppers. The peppers.
Okay.
Anything else they did to us, I'm not a big fan. But at least I give them the credit of the harissa.
So is there anything in the name harissa?
Harissa means crush. What's in here? This particular harissa, it's pretty much the same family recipe. The only things different about it is the peppers I'm using. Pretty much do this, like take some bread. And then, because we use like this, your hand, like that. And then, voila. Drinking and eating a harissa, it'll open your appetite, so you'll be able to eat more. You taste the garlic.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, garlic, extra virgin olive oil, coriander, a little bit salt. With these, we are building a pulled pork hash. Will be pulled pork with a little bit of barbecue sauce, breakfast potatoes, and nice coleslaw goes on top. One of our iconic dishes to serve here. All right. And this is the barbacoa. We serve it over grits. Also, we can make a fantastic sandwich with this. So this is a chopped, cut small pieces of brisket. And that sauce, that's the mole. It cooks in its own mole.
Looks fantastic.
Ah, this is it.
Yeah.
House-made chorizo. Chorizo, we use pork shoulders. Chorizo has a lot of cinnamon, a lot of cumin, ancho peppers, mainly paprika. This is the mole. So the mole sauce, we have it on the side for El Rancheros. We have a fantastic huevos rancheros. I think one of the best.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. You know, it's like
No,
one of the best in town. But
Yeah.
for us, we need to have a fantastic egg like this. You know, see, it's always
Yeah.
soft inside, and the white is cooked all the way around.
Yeah.
So this is our cornbread. So what's make our cornbread unique too? Because we use two different type of corn. We use Aztec corn, which is a corn native from the Midwest, blue corn or purple corn, and we use yellow corn. The Aztec corn changed the density and the complexity of the cornbread.
Okay.
It's totally different, even though it's corn. So the first stage of the bread, of the corn, the pork belly Benedict is the bread. I created a dessert from this cornbread. We call it gâteau.
Okay.
Gâteau is cake in French.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what makes St. Louis a good fit for a guy from Tunisia? Well, for starters, of course, there is the French connection.
All right, everybody, wasn't that just, I mean, it just looks delicious. It looks, I mean, everything about it just looks scrumptious. I mean, just watching that clip right there, I can't get over just watching it, like a perfectly poached egg be carved into and the egg yolk just spill out on whatever you're eating. It's just magical. That's why I love food. Food makes me happy. Food is love, and that's why we're so excited to have the two gentlemen that we have for our conversation today. Hopefully, you guys got so excited just watching that clip. There is so much more to come from Food is Love, from this show that Lasse and his team are pouring their heart into about the St. Louis food scene. And what's really interesting about it, Amy kind of touched on at the beginning in her introduction that the food scene in St. Louis is really struggling right now. Yes, it's struggling like every other food scene is, but there's also so much amazing stuff happening right now in the St. Louis food scene. Even with a pandemic happening, there are great collaborations going on. There's tremendous food being made. There is wonderful steps being taken to make sure that you and I get to eat that amazing food. And Lasse is going to talk about some of those things that he's doing on the show to highlight that. And Qui is a great example of how a restaurant is adapting to bring that amazing St. Louis food to you, even when restaurants have to jump through some crazy hoops to do it. So Lydia and I are going to take your questions here in the chat. We've got some questions for these two amazing chefs, but we want you guys to drop your questions in the chat window and we'll pick them up and ask them throughout the rest of the evening. But I'm going to turn it over now to Lydia and let her ask our first question.
All right, first question. Lasse, your Food is Love series is no doubt poetry. The way that it's shot, the way that you tell your story. What's the backstory behind it? Tell us the origin of where it all kind of came from, the idea of it.
Well, the Food is Love is an evolving story, and it's a collaboration between Jason Pinkston and I. After meeting with Jack Galmich from 9 Network 2 years ago, where we had some ideas about a show. I had an idea about a show, and Jack thought it was too raunchy for PBS, and so we come up with I guess a compromise, and this was it. And I think they steered me in the right direction. And then I got Jason Pinkston on board as a producer on the show, and he really took my ideas and then put them together into a show. And we do our homework before the show. We really try to find talent in the restaurants or an interesting story behind the restaurant before we go there, so we're prepared and trying to dig out some fun stuff when we do the episodes too. And as you see in the coming episodes, you'll never know what the next episode is. It's not one of these shows where it's the same thing where you go into a restaurant, open the door, take a bite and say it's good, and then we'll leave. This is, we got something new planned for each episode, and we might change the format a little bit and maybe a lot, and to keep it interesting for the viewers all the time.
So when you're deciding and doing your homework, what's your criteria on the ones that you feature or the ones that you're selecting to tell their story and how you tell it? I feel like every episode just keeps getting better and better, and the stories are more and more engaging.
Well, we are also getting better at asking the right questions, and it's not like we didn't ask the right questions in the beginning. We were very fortunate to start with Munsuk from Kimchi Guys, because he has a great story, and how he built his empire of restaurants. So he's very knowledgeable, and he has a great personality. He knows so much about Korean cuisine. And, really the show, we wanted to highlight that culture. And, he talked his parents into opening their home to us, which really made that episode interesting, that they would allow us to come. And they grow everything in the backyard in the middle of St. Louis. I think that was just such a wonderful story. And then of course the Balkan treat box, Guerrilla Street, but the Balkan treat box that was an easy shot for us, because Lauren and Ido, they are so passionate about what they're doing, and the love they have for each other. And it shows in it really shows, it comes through in the food they're making, and it comes through how they explain to us how they do everything. And we got invited to their house, and it was just an awesome combination. And trying to catch all that is that's Jason's job. I say to everybody, I have the easy job. I just sit down and eat all the good food and ask a couple of questions, but he really have the tough job in trying to capture these moments that we're going to get. And there'll be a lot of moments in the next episodes you'll see.
Yeah. So this definitely, you could tell, is a passion project of yours. How long did it take to film, like start to finish? How was it?
Well, it normally takes about 2 to 3 days, and we end up with about 15 hours worth of filming or shoots that then Jason edited down to 26 minutes. So, on the previous episode, we could almost have another episode with each one of those episodes. We have enough footage of it, and it would still be interesting. So we have to go through that and pick up all the good stuff and what we think should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. And that's a tough job to have to pick through all of it and get all the good stuff out. But that's part of it. And I think it's going to be very interesting for viewers to see going forward, because like I said before, we are changing the concept every time and trying to do the show different, so you never get tired of watching it.
Yes. So I know that your executive producer is Julie Chen Moonves. Sorry.
Yes.
How connection like that to be able to produce something like this is absolutely incredible.
Well, Julie Chen and I have been friends for 30 years. When I first came to the United States, I met her cousin. I actually met her in Copenhagen. Her cousin attended my dad's pastry school. And when I first came to the United States, I came to San Francisco and stayed with her. but you know, I thought San Francisco would be a good fit for me, but it wasn't really a good fit for me. I don't know, but you know, I said, well, I want to try to go to Los Angeles, and she said, well, I have a cousin in Los Angeles. She's an intern at ABC News, and maybe you can you know, stay there for a couple of days. So Julia and I hit it off right away, and I actually crashed on her couch, and I was there for about 6 months, and that was the start of you know, a friendship that lasted a long, long time. And when I showed her the first episode after we did the trailer, you know, she was so excited, and she started to give us input on about how to do stuff, and then eventually, you know, it came into a partnership, and now she's a producer on the show. And you know, that speaks volume to the quality that Jason is producing. I think that we've caught the eye of people in Hollywood, that they think we have a really, really good show, and so I'm really proud of that. And the fact that she'll put her name on the show too is going to help us in the long run, I'm sure.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And I don't know if anybody watched that, but I was on a show called The Talk that she was the host of 2 years ago, and that's what Jack Galmich saw me the first time, and that was kind of my you know, cue into PBS or the 9 network in St. Louis. That's how that started.
That is awesome.
That's awesome. So let's jump over to Qui for a second. So Qui, the last time we saw you in any kind of official Chew in the Loose setting was Lydia and I did a quick little video that you were in at an event called Eat Like a King, Made for a Cub. It was an event with Lion's Choice to design a new food menu item for kids along with Operation Food Search. You were paired up against a couple other chefs, Rick Lewis from Grace Meat and 3, Katie Collier from Katie's Pizza and Pasta, and Lauren Nalick from Balkan Treat Box. And you lost that competition. And I recall you being very devastated by that. You obviously have done a lot since then, but what has life been like for you at Nudo House and Miley restaurant since that stunning defeat in the Eat Like a King challenge 3 or 4 months ago?
Well, you know, those were all my good buddies, and I love them. So next time, if I have to cook for kids, then I'm going to have to talk to someone that's a parent and see what kids like to eat, because I think we kind of made it a little bit too complicated. So no, you know, we talk about how tough it's been. I'm going to talk a little bit about how tough it's been. You know, I want everybody to know that I'm not a special case, and you know, I just kind of want everybody to know that this is, you know, restaurants are having a tough time right now, and a lot of the restaurants that people love and are eating at, you know, may or may not be around this coming year, and it's devastating, you know. And so as a community person in the industry here, we're just trying to navigate and help one another and trying to do collaborations, because obviously after the competition at Lion's Choice, we said, well, let's just do a Lion's Choice ramen, because everyone here loves Lion's Choice, including myself. And so that kind of sparked a lot of different things, because I think that's what got us here in the first place. And you know, a lot of the restaurateurs, I think we have such a special camaraderie, such a special community here in St. Louis. And I think you know, we get a little complacent, or we've been a little bit busy and stressed and trying to navigate all this, that I just, you know, been reaching out and said, guys, we just need to collaborate with one another. What can I do to help you? And, you know, vice versa. And so that's just kind of like what's happening. And we're just trying to navigate through all the COVID stuff. I mean, it's just, we're definitely in uncharted territory. This is something that obviously the world has never seen before. And it is a little bit, it's getting more difficult daily. And it's just something that we're just trying to stay ahead of, and, you know, do our best to protect ourselves as well as our community and our customers.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a fabulous job. And I think if we want to talk about collaboration, Lion's Choice and the Noodle House ramen, I want to tell you, I think our Chew in the Loop feed was pretty filled with everybody bragging about actually getting it, because you were selling out within.
Oh.
I went in one day and ate in your restaurant on your patio, and it was packed. There's a line around the corner. So obviously it was a successful collaboration. How long does something like that take to put together? Is it a quick, connect the dots, or is there a lot of thought and time and effort put into it?
I think everyone in the industry, there is time and effort put into it, but I think everyone's been savvy enough I think everyone in the industry is savvy enough to just kind of come up and say, okay, we're going to do this. And being that we love Lion's Choice, my chef, Chris, over at Del Mar, he was just like, well, hey, why don't we just put this together? We'll blend our pho with their au jus, get their meat, do this. And then he just put it together. I tasted it and I said, brilliant. So I said, brilliant. We're going to run it ASAP. We actually were supposed to run it a little bit while ago, and obviously COVID hit. And then we just had to try to find the right time where it kind of, I think restaurants and everyone just kind of knew certain protocols. And then from there, we just kept it rolling. And it was a huge success. And I'm so grateful for the St. Louis community to come and support us like that. I mean, stuff like that gives us hope of what we could get back to. And, we were so appreciative for St. Louis. And it was just so crazy. We're trying to get everyone fed, but, obviously being shorthanded and just all this craziness, it just, unfortunately, some of the stuff, certain days, it took longer than usual, but we were just very grateful that everyone was very patient and, came out to support us.
Well, I will tell you from what I witnessed sitting there, you brought our food out to us and you were very hospitable. Despite all the chaos inside, you still ran back out and brought us silverware. The hospitality, regardless, you couldn't have told that you guys were, as you say, in the weeds.
Yeah,
so I think the second question are you ever going to come back with it?
Well, I tell you what. So I will say this, because so let's put this way. We sold in 3 days, 1,100 bowls of Lion's Choice ramen. It was insane. And I don't even know how we cranked it out. But I will say this, we will probably bring it back sometime in the future, because I think that's just something that people just really, it's Lion's Choice, right? In St. Louis, like for me, myself, like I don't eat fast food, but I've always eaten at Lion's Choice. So when I need something, I'm like, I don't go to McDonald's. I don't go to any of that. I'm just like, I don't really care for them. I'm just like, Lion's Choice, roast beef, cheese, extra meat, I'm in. So, we're very grateful. It was a huge success.
That's awesome.
So let me ask, is your Lion's Choice ramen going to be featured in your episode of Food is Love that's coming up in a couple weeks?
No, we actually did that ramen after we had filmed Food is Love. And Chef Lasse, we had a great time, and I'm grateful he decided to do something with us and tell our story. I think people hearing other people's stories, when we humanize each other, I think that's when the compassion and empathy comes from, and I think that's something that we need more of. So I think Chef Lasse is doing a great job with the show, and food is love. Food is art. Food is like music. It doesn't matter what creed, what color, what sexual orientation you are. When you hear Stairway to Heaven, everybody like, oh, I love Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter. And so I think food has the same effect. And there's the term breaking bread for a reason, and that's how we understand each other's differences and uniqueness, and come to have a love for one another. And I think Chef Lasse is doing a great job with the show. I love it.
Awesome. I do want to do a shout out to somebody here in the chat. That's Patty just said, just please tell Qui thank you. The pho at Miley has saved me after too much wine the night before. The food is truly amazing, my favorite. So Patty, thank you for that comment. So you're saving her after a night of partying. I will say your pho is what I take whenever I'm feeling stuffy in my nose. The spiciness and the flavors just open you back up. It's like the best medicine you can ever take if you're ever feeling sick. I don't know what it says about your food that people take it when they're feeling bad. Maybe it just speaks for the love that's in your food, and then it just heals people instantly. But that is just fantastic stuff. Lots of shout outs here in the chat for people that love your food.
Well,
So I know.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I want to tell Patty that she thinks that I saved her, but really it's people like her that saved me. So, thank you, Patty. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, if you guys have any suggestions for Qui for food collaborations like the Lion's Choice Ramen, we want you guys to put those in the chat now, and we will make sure that Qui gets all those. No promises that he ever follows through on any of them, but we want to say if we ever, like, if 6 months from now there's a Joya's Deli Nudo House mashup with some spicy salami or hot salami ramen, we want to say you heard it first on Chew in the Lou. So if you guys have suggestions, what? No,
well, okay. So we, like I said, we've been talking about a lot of collaborations. So I haven't announced it yet, but tonight, I'm going to announce it. So first time on Chew in the Lou, starting next week, local favorite Mission Taco. We're doing a Mission Taco Chorizo ramen. So what we're going to do is corn stock. So we're doing a corn stock ramen with the Mission Taco Chorizo, their street corn, our egg, onion, cilantro, and lime. It's going to be spectacular. So that's going to be happening.
Are you going to sell out super fast?
Well, we're working with Mission Taco right now, but on this one, we're going to run it for the whole week. So we're going to run it that whole week. So starting next Tuesday, we're going to run it from Tuesday through Sunday at both locations. So starting next week, because I think what happened with Lion's Choice, it was only at one location, so everybody just piled in. But this time, we're going to run it. We're going to run at both locations, and we're going to run it for the whole week. So that way, people don't have to, no one has to rush, and we're going to be able to just keep it going. Even if we sell out the first day, like let's say we sell out the first day, we'll be able to, just keep it going and work with Mission Taco because they have a huge commissary. We'll be able to work with them and kind of extend this out. But this corn chorizo ramen is pretty spectacular. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
Well, our friend Patty just said Mission Taco and Miley dream come true. So Patty's going to pop open some wine and come get some ramen the next day, it looks like.
Well, we did a Miley. Yeah, so we did a Miley and Mission Taco collabo. We did a pork, our roasted 5-spice pork taco, and Mission Taco is a huge success. So now Mission Taco is returning the favor, and it's going to be the Mission Taco ramen is going to be having at both Nudo locations.
I love it. This is what great food in St. Louis is built on, folks. It's flavor collaborations. It's fantastic. All right, we'll keep posting those ideas in the chat window. We're going to jump over to Lasse with another question here. So, Lasse, at the end of each episode of Food is Love, you cook a dish that is inspired by the flavors and stories and people that you talk to and meet in the episode. How do you come up with that dish? What is the creative process to that? Is it a one shot and you do it? Is it good? I mean, sometimes I look at that and I'm like, I wonder if you tried that. Is that really good? I'm sure it's amazing because you're an amazing chef. But do you plan on serving those in your restaurant at some day? Like what goes into that final dish at the end of your episode? Lasse, you're muted. So let you see if you can unmute yourself real quick.
Can we hear me now? Okay.
You're good.
So, one of the things I really enjoy about doing this show is I get to meet people like Munsuk and Joel and Brian at Gorilla Street and Lauren and Ido and of course Qui. And so I'm making some great connections. But as to Qui's point earlier, the idea of the show is really to showcase other chefs, what they can do and why they cook the way they cook. That's what I've always been interested in as a chef. When I taste great food, I went to Nudo House and had the pho in there, and you can tell the love behind there. And so what I do is I draw from that, and then I try to say to myself, well, how can I take that concept of the pho, even though I'm not a a restaurant that normally serve that, but the techniques used in how he developed his food, I can take a lot of those techniques and flavors and incorporate them into my style. For a fine dining restaurant, I can maybe use some very expensive ingredients, but cook it in a similar fashion, like what Nudo does. And I can't tell you what I'm going to do for Qui yet, not because I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't want to spoil it for Qui yet. I want it to be a surprise, and we might have a surprise ending with that too. But stay tuned for that episode. It's going to be very interesting, and I'm selling myself to Nudo House right now. Maybe there should be a collaboration with a special when we're leading up to episode 6 or after. That might be a good idea if we come up with something together.
I love it. So Lasse, tell us a little bit more about Tom's Place. We see you in the kitchen in the episodes, but tell us about your restaurant.
Yeah, so we come back every episode, and that's the kitchen, and I'm still a working chef. I still have to put a lot of hours and time in here, and Tom's Place has been my labor of love for the last 21 years. This is an old roadhouse that's been here since 1921. It's in southern Illinois, just north of Carbondale, SIU, about 8 miles north of Carbondale. And it's a destination place where, if you travel from St. Louis and you go down and see the wonderful wine region we have here, and you stay at a bed and breakfast, this is a good opportunity to come and try some of the food we have. And I call it Cosmopolitan Cuisine. Somebody asked me what style I'm cooking, but I get influenced all the time by the talent I meet. But I certainly think that in my menu you'll have a Scandinavian flair in most of the dishes that I have. It comes through. I have a passion for cooking fish, and I worked in a Michelin-star restaurant. And for many years, so I have a love for the most expensive things, truffles, lobster, foie gras. But those are the items that you're probably not going to see in the restaurant in the near future, just because nobody's buying it. People are very much focused on price right now. So what we have done to cut on labor and making sure that we have something that are sustainable, we are changing our menu every month following the season. And what we're doing is 5 appetizers, 5 entrees, and 5 desserts. And we really focus on making them taste good and look good. And the fact that I don't have 30 specials every day like I used to, it cuts down on the food cost and on labor cost. And that's some of the ramifications of what's going on right now. And, like Qui said, we certainly hope we're going to be here for many more years to come. But the Christmas time is where we make the most money. We kind of make up for all the lost revenue we didn't get in the summer. And I can't imagine not having a Christmas season. So that's the part that we're a little bit worried about. But, coming to St. Louis and talking to chefs up there, and it's amazing to see the band there is. It seems like chefs are really good friends, and they're very supportive of each other in St. Louis. And, everybody has been extremely positive about the future. And that makes me positive about my own future, that there is hope out there. And Qui has mentioned, it's a collective thing for all of us. We really have to get over a lot of the things we are saying to each other right now, and realize, this is the time that we all need to come together and help each other, not only in the food service industry, but everywhere as Americans. And I'm hoping that this show will also help with that, that it's a little bit of medication. It may not be as good as Qui soup, but, maybe mentally it'll give people pause and think about you know, that a person of a different color or different culture, you know, they want the same things you do. And, you know, we as humans, we all want the same thing. You know, we want food, we want love, you know, we want friendship. And that's really what I'm trying to promote on the show. And, you know, if you come to my restaurant, you will experience some of that hospitality here too.
That's incredible. Okay, so I want to touch on something because I've watched you and you do an incredible job of diving into everyone's origin and their food that they love. Tell us something about you with your Danish background. What's your comfort food? Is there anything on the menu that is definitely something from back home that you know is 100% Denmark?
You know, you know, unlike a lot of foods, Danish food is probably very foreign to a lot of people. And, you know, we like to eat raw fish and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, herring is one of my favorites. And I've tried for years to force people to eat herring. I just can't get the job done. And so I enjoy eating with other Danes when I'm either back in Denmark, or I have the pleasure of having Danish folks coming to the restaurant. And what I do is saying, hey, would you mind if I do this, this, and this, like a little herring and some pork? And, you know, because sitting with people of your same culture and enjoying something like that, that's what makes the food. You know, if I just sit and eat an open-faced sandwich with herring myself, nobody in my family is interested in eating it. You know, that's not the same. But some of the highlights I have on the restaurant this month, for instance, I have a Wiener Schnitzel, which is, you know, something we enjoy in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. But, you know, I put a different spin on it here too. And we have a duck with Lingonberries, and that's been on the menu here for many, many years. And that's one of my best sellers. And there's a lot of little things inside the food that has that Scandinavian flair to it. You know, any kind of fish, I love any kind of fish, but again, I'm a big fan of herring, and I wish there was more people that would enjoy it with me, but maybe this show will open the doors to that.
Well, as long as there's no lutefisk, I will definitely come.
Well, I don't like lutefisk either, and I hate to insult any Norwegians. I don't know how they eat it, but they probably say the same thing about the herring I eat, you know. But and Qui, just so you know, I'm not saying you need to make a herring pho. I don't think that's possible. Or maybe it is. Maybe we should fry it or do something different. Put rabbit in seaweed or something. I don't know, but I don't think anybody's gonna buy it. It'll just be for you and me.
That's incredible. Oh,
that sounds amazing. So, Qui, jump into you for a couple of questions. So we talked about Tom's Place. Obviously, you're a super successful restaurateur, and people in St. Louis are very familiar with your restaurants, Nudo House, 2 locations, and Miley. Real quick story, my wife and I, on our 3rd date, went to Miley, on your old location up on Olive before you moved further down to Brentwood. And she was real excited to order, I forgot the official name of it, but with the charcoal grill and the meat that you can sear at the table. And she said it, and they set it down right in front of me, and I'm trying to like be all prim and proper and woo the woman of my life that became my wife. And I'm sweating bullets in your restaurant. To this day, 14, 15 years later, my wife still makes fun of me every time we go to your restaurant and threatens to order that the Korean barbecue or whatever it was called. I forgot exactly what it was. But for those that may not know, you know, when you walk into your restaurant, it's intimidating at Miley. You know, Lasse mentioned he has 30 or 40 things on his menu. Yours has 200 and some odd things. How many things are on your menu?
Oh gosh, it's too many to count, you know, and we've condensed it down already, and it's so many to count. But, you know, my mom, it's crazy because I think part of growing up in the business, I think a lot of us, or any business, we're always like, hey, keep it simple, stupid, right? But I think for Asian restaurants, especially, you know, my mother, you know, being an old school restaurateur, I think it's just kind of like, she was like, well, we're just going to keep adding. And I'm just like, how are we handling all this? But, You know, it's like clockwork now. But you see, that tabletop grilled beef that you ordered, Joe, she loved you for it. So, you know, you made a right choice.
She did. She did. I think she was just trying to sweat it out and test me, and I hung in there. I could have ran, but I didn't.
Well, you
so
know,
for the
well, quick story. So before I met my wife, we went out to eat at a restaurant. She ordered she ordered 2 appetizers, entree, 2 desserts, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna be together for a while. So, you know.
Fantastic. So for those that haven't been, what would you say if someone were to walk into Miley or Nudo House and want to order something? What are your specialties? What do you really lean on in your cooking that you're the most proud of, that you would offer up to somebody and say, this is my restaurant and this is what I'm going to serve you first?
Well, I think for Vietnamese food, like a good introduction, I think for people to really understand like the flavors and kind of like what we're trying to do as the cuisine, I think, you know, it's always great to start with spring rolls or some kind of like a papaya salad or something, because I think you just kind of papaya or lotus root salad, because I think you kind of, you know, Vietnamese cooking is about testing all your taste buds. So, you know, you got the sweet, the sour, the spicy, and the salt. And so I think those kind of things to start with kind of hit on all those notes. And then from there, I would suggest, like, you know, Chef Lasse was talking about, you know, getting a pho and then jumping into an entree, like whether it be like a wok seared beef or like a salted pepper calamari, because I think that's kind of like, those are like just great starting points to kind of really understand the food and, you know, what we're trying to do. And then from there, you know, you move on to what you did, Joe, is tabletop grilled beef and, you know, butter garlic shrimp, or like, you know, all the other stuff. But, I usually would suggest those things. And, you know, I think that gives everyone a good introduction to the cuisine itself, you know, as far as Miley is concerned. And, you know, Nudo House came about because of our love of ramen. And, you know, and obviously my love of pho. And so we've combined those two and created Nudo House. But it's really a Pan-Asian restaurant. You know, my partner, executive chef, she's phenomenal. You know, Marianne, she's Filipino, born in Montreal, speaks 5 languages. So, I mean, her vast of food knowledge is incredible, worked in some of the top restaurants around the country. And so it's just a wonderful thing that we just get to collaborate, and we make, you know, Japanese ramen. We've done Filipino, like adobo style ramen. We've done, you know, we have takoyaki, which is like fried octopus balls, you know, I mean, and from Miley's, I mean, everybody loves the crab rangoon. So we've kind of just like shifted a few things from Miley's that people love, and we've added in the Nudo House. And then we've done fun stuff like General Tso's chicken and waffles as a special. So we just kind of get goofy with it, if you want to call it that, and just kind of, you know, do a lot of collaborations and a lot of mixing of the cultures, because like we said, food is art, you know, food is music. It's there's no bounds, you know, we take a little bit from one another, and we kind of create things that people love to eat, and people tend to love it. And so we're very fortunate for that.
I think awesome. Get goofy with it is my favorite quote of anything you've just said.
I think it needs to be like embroidered somewhere on an apron.
We're going to ditch the hashtag I was using for Chew and Lou, and this is going to be Chew and Lou, get goofy with it. That's fantastic.
Well, the Chew crew is pretty amazing. So that's a pretty good, I want a t-shirt when you guys make that.
We'll trade. We'll make them, and I'll trade you for a 3-1 one. How about that?
Well, we just made new t-shirts. They say it's nude party, NOOD party. So
deal.
Yes,
I love it. I love it.
So I'm going to ask you both a chef question, because everyone that's on Chew and Lou, a lot of people, they're foodies, and we all cook. And during the pandemic, we've all taken our kitchens back to our own. So the word umami is something I think a lot of people try to strive for. So for the both of you, what ingredients would you say you use the most to achieve umami in your food? I'll start with you, Lasse, and then I'll go to Qui.
Some of those flavors were very unique to me when I first came to the United States. I wasn't familiar with any of that stuff, and I was lucky enough to land at a Hawaiian restaurant in California, and where I learned we had sushi chefs on staff, and just an influx of Asian culture in Hawaii, and seaweed is one of those things that I mean, there's nothing. That really gives me that flavor that I'm looking for. I add that to a lot of different things that I'm doing, and I think that that's a nice addition to the style of cooking that I do, because it does add a dimension that you cannot get anywhere else. So I think that flavor that comes from seaweed gives me that. So, and that's easy. Everybody can add that in their broths, or you can even eat it dry and sprinkle on top of your fish. That's where I get most of that. I'm sure that it's a lot more sophisticated than that, but that's the first thing I use if I'm going after that flavor.
Do you have a cured egg yolk? Have you used that before in your cuisine?
Say that again?
A cured egg yolk?
A cured egg yolk?
Yeah. It's egg yolk that's been sort of salt dried. And essentially it's supposed to be like Parmesan in its flavor and texture, but it's supposed to be an incredible umami bomb.
But it sounds very interesting. I keep seeing new things, even though you as a chef, you don't know everything, and there are still new techniques on the horizon all the time, and just to see how Qui cooks his eggs, how Faisal cooked his eggs, how Gorilla Street cooked their eggs. It's all different techniques, and they're all really, really good. And if somebody showed that to me, I'm sure I would find it extremely interesting and could then turn around and use it in something that I do. One thing that I've been interested in since the egg episode is pickled eggs. I had a customer that came here and asked me about pickled eggs, and never really done anything with pickled eggs before. And I guess it's a big thing in the East in Pennsylvania. And I cook and pickle a lot of red beets in the restaurant. So they told me that, that's one method you can use. So now when I pickle my beets, I put a couple of eggs in the bottom of the jar with the pickled beets, and I pickle them with chili and cinnamon and garlic. And the people that have had it so far, and the people from Pennsylvania, are saying it's just awesome. So that was a brand new thing for me too, that I just learned about. So I keep learning new stuff, and that's really what we all should be doing, learning from each other. And once you stop learning, I think maybe then it's time to retire as a chef.
Food is an adventure, right? You're always finding and tasting new things.
Food is love. That's what we're doing. See, when people show me things like that, they're sharing their love for a certain ingredient or a certain food, and then I'm lucky enough to share it with a lot of people.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for those tips. Qui, what's your umami bombs? What's your flavors?
Well, it's not just a Pennsylvania thing, Chef. It's also, a Midwest and Southern thing. So I love pickled eggs.
Really?
I love pickle everything, but yeah, pickled eggs are amazing. So it's a very Midwestern and Southern thing to pickle eggs as well. Because our buddy David Stein, who owns David Stein Furniture, his mom makes incredible pickled eggs. And we're out on his farm, and man, I had some and it was outstanding. So, but since we're talking about umami, I'm going to kind of get into it a little bit. So for a lot of you watching, the term umami means MSG. And a lot of people don't understand what umami really means. And so I'm going to do a little education process. So it's scientifically impossible for you to be allergic to MSG. People think MSG is not natural, but it is natural. And then you just talked to Chef Lasse, and he just told you about working with seaweed. Well, kelp seaweed is MSG. And so, a lot of people don't understand what that is. So MSG really just means salt sugar, sodium glutamate. And it's just like salt, it comes off, like you said, when you dry seaweed and sprinkle it on, or like, Lydia, you talked about, the cured egg, so fermenting and curing, all that is all that is MSG, so that's what umami means. Parmigiano Reggiano, everybody loves Parmigiano Reggiano. That is MSG 100%. And a lot of people don't understand. So, for me, I always say I grew up on the hill, so I love Italian food. So I did a class, and I say, hey, who here loves, they asked me the MSG question, and they said, do you use it? I said, of course I do. I'm Asian, we use it. We've been using it our whole lives. And so I said, well, I'm going to explain a little something. So we talked about how I asked the class, there's about 50 people. I said, who in here likes a good red sauce? Everybody raises their hand. I said, well, tomatoes are fruit. So when you cook fruit down, the glutamate comes out of it. So the sugars come out of it. You just made a big bowl of glutamate. I said, what do you do to that red sauce to make it taste better? Oh, we add salt. Aha! So now you just made a big bowl of sodium glutamate. You just made a big bowl of MSG in just making a red sauce. There's more MSG in that red sauce than any Asian restaurant you could ever go to, because they just do this. You just made a big bowl of sodium glutamate. And then I said, what do you do after you use that red sauce to cook a pasta? What do you put on it? Oh, we put Parmigiano Reggiano on. I said, oh, brilliant. I said, you just made a big bowl of MSG and you just sprinkled more MSG all over this bowl. And no one has a headache from eating too much red sauce, So for us, being in the restaurant business, there's a lot of things that we can and can't do. And in all of our restaurants, everything's made fresh. And so there's things, dietary restrictions, allergies, we can always do that. So for me, I use a lot of umami, whether it be in the form of, mushrooms. So, when we cook mushrooms down, we dry them. We use it, mushrooms are a form of umami, in other words, MSG, fermenting. So when you ferment, your soy sauces and stuff, that's a form of umami that, you add into your food. Chef Lasse, talked about seaweed. Absolutely. So that's something that we use to, make our dashis. And so we use seaweed because it adds a different dimension. So there's a lot of things that we use. Fish sauce. So that's another form of umami. So, fermented tofu, because it's when you ferment tofu and like chili and salt, it adds a different type of dimension, adds a different depth of flavor. So there's a lot of different things that we use. So for me, I've been using umami my whole life. So my whole kitchen is umami, from your soy sauces, fish sauces, fermented tofus, your egg yolk to seaweed to mushrooms. I mean, we use it all. I mean, Chef Lasse, he said his wife loved our mushroom ramen, and I'll make it for her anytime. So,
it's interesting when you talk about MSG. I asked the local chef down here at the Chinese restaurant we have in Carbondale, and he said if it's as unhealthy as everybody is saying, how do you explain the population in the East versus the population here? Because we would all not be here if it was as bad as people are making it. So I totally agree with what you're saying. It's we put it in everything.
Well, your body's made of salt. It's scientifically impossible for you to be allergic to salt. I mean, our bodies are composed of salt. And I mean, you're right. I mean, if you look at the longest lifespans, it's all in the East, right? So the Asian countries, the average lifespan of someone in China, I mean, you're talking about 90. People are living 100, 103, 108. I mean, so
the headache comes from all the beer and the alcohol. It doesn't come from the umami.
Right. Well, it's like anything, right? If you eat too much sugar, you're not gonna. If I eat a whole pie, which I've done, I'm not gonna feel good afterwards. And so, if I eat it.
Not breaking news, but you heard it here on Chew in the Loo that MSG is good for you, and it goes.
Moderate.
You are made of MSG.
Right.
We're getting close on time, but I want to put one question from one of our viewers, and they wanted to ask Lasse about his first experience with drive-through.
With dry fruit?
a drive-through
Like a drive-through.
with a car.
Oh, drive-through. Okay, yeah. Well, again, I come from a country where they don't have any fast food. So when I first came to the United States, the first thing I did was buy a 1970 Cougar. And I was very proud of that because, I was used to these small vehicles in Denmark. And now I had a big American car. So obviously, I was enamored with all the drive-thrus we have. I could go to the cleaners with my chef jacket, didn't have to get out of the car. But the thing that impressed me most, and I hate to, pitch any restaurant, but I'm going to have to tell you the story, is McDonald's. Now, I could not believe working in a Michelin star restaurant, I pull up to the window and I ordered a filet of fish because I do like my fish and never had it before. And they said, just pull around the corner. And I'm like, just pull around what do you mean? No, just pull around the corner to the next window. So I pulled around the corner to the next window and I had a filet of fish in my hand, and I just couldn't believe that something could be made that fast. For me, that was so fascinating that I actually had to drive back in line, and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to see this. Is this going to happen again in the same time frame? And it did. And still today, it impresses me that that you can make food that fast. And, that's one of my weaknesses is the filet o fish at McDonald's. Once in a while when I get tired of everything else, I have to try one of those again. And it brings back good memories from old times. And that old vehicle that my wife let me, she told me I had to sell it because she thought it was a terrible looking vehicle. But, I have those moments where I can relive that at the drive-through.
That's fantastic. What an awesome story.
And I tell you what, another thing is when I came here, people were telling me about certain restaurants, and White Castle is another thing. People said, well, you got to hit it at the right time. Just when they open, the buns are steamed, and I bought 4 of them right at the time, and I had my Labrador with me in the back. And, I said, well, I'll try one, and my wife will have one, and the Labrador will get the 2. So I had it in my mouth there for like 30 seconds, and my brain immediately, dog is getting nothing. I ate it all myself, and that was another thing. I mean, they sure dialed fast food in America, totally unrelated to what I do, but I still have a respect for people that does that line of work too, because they work just as hard on everything like we do.
Well, speaking of what you do, can you give us some previews of some of the few episodes of Fuel in the Love, the Food is Love, that is coming up?
Yeah, episode 4 will be from Egg Restaurant. They have 2 locations, one in Midtown and one in Benton Park. And I can't believe I'm starting to sound like I know where everything is in St. Louis, and I'm really getting a great education myself about where everything is. I don't have to use GPS anymore when I drive around. It's great. But episode 4, Egg, really looking forward to what people think about that. It's really a good episode. And then we are going to a restaurant, Gulf Shores, after that. And that is a very interesting story. The gentleman who has that restaurant is a unique person, has a unique personality. And that's a big part of that show, because he's really a special individual that people like him needs to be celebrated. And I'm happy that Jason really captured him as well as he did in that episode. Even though we are focusing on food, I think it really comes through that he's a special person. And a lot of things happens when we shoot. We left Gulf Shores, and we tried to see if we could find a place where we would get a feel of the ocean. And we went to a beach, and for the life of me, I can't remember where it was. I think it was out in St. Peter's or something, wasn't it, Jason? But we went out there to get a shot where it looked like we were at the ocean, and I just struck up a conversation with somebody, and Jason happened to have the camera on like he always does. And that person, I said, well, we just came from Gulf Shores. She immediately started talking about not the restaurant, not the food, but him. his personality. So that what we're really focusing on that episode. That's going to be an interesting, different type of episode. And then episode 6 is Qui, and that's going to be a knockout, so to speak. And when I say knockout, you'll all wait and see what that means. But I know Qui knows what that means.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, in closing, I wanted to ask you guys one final thing, and that is, given what's going on in the restaurant scene, in 1 or 2 sentences, what suggestions do you guys have for us as local food lovers that we can be doing to help you guys as restaurateurs and chefs and your staff during this crazy time?
You want me to ask first or Qui first?
Let's start with Qui.
Okay.
Well, I ask that everyone, as much as you can. I know these times are tough, so I try not to ask people to do more than they're already doing, because it's just, we're such an uncharted territory. It's really tough times for everybody. But I do ask that if you can, go out and support your local restaurants. They need you more than ever now. I think a lot of times for us, we've a lot of the fundraising, we've done a lot to help the community over the years. And, we really ask that if you can come back and support as many local businesses as possible, and also ask for your patience. I mean, we're understaffed and we're very stressed right now. We're just trying to do the best that we can and trying to make the experience, under all the guidelines as smoothly as possible. So, again, just support the local guys. And, we also ask for your be patient with us, because we're also trying to navigate through everything. And, and thanks. And, I want to thank everybody for their support. And it's, we're very grateful for it.
And Lasse?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a hard time following up on that, because everything Qui said is right on the money. And all the loans and all the help we get from the government, that's not the cure for this. The cure for this is getting people out again, whatever that takes. We all as a nation have to get together and fix this as soon as we can, because the cure to restaurants not going out of business is to get people back. And people probably won't come back in the same amounts before we either have a vaccine or we get some kind of conclusion on what's going on. And I just signed up for being a volunteer to get a shot because us in the restaurant business, we're exposed a lot. And I think the best thing you can do, like Qui says, is to keep going out as you're feeling safe. If you don't want to go inside, sit outside or pick stuff up curbside, order it online, do whatever you can to help your local watering hole, so to speak, because there's going to be a lot fewer of those when this is all said and done. So especially around Christmas time, because all restaurants like mine, that's where we make up lost time. And so buy gift certificates, and they're good forever. So buy gift certificates that you can give, and hopefully sometime in 2021, this is over with, and then you can redeem them. That would help restaurants a bunch.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys both. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening on Chewing the Lou Live. We're still working out September's guests and dates, so look out for some more announcements around that. But a big thank you again. I want to raise a glass. Lydia, if you'll raise a glass with me real quick, and toast to Chef Lasse Sorenson and to Chef Qui Tran for joining us this evening on another Chewing the Lou Live. Cheers to you guys. And I hope everybody has happy eating in St. Louis. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Food is love.
Food is love.
Food is love.
Get goofy with it. Whatever you said before.
Get goofy with it. With the love of the food.
That's right. That's right. I'm excited.